Whoa, so what is growing on? Did you get a look at that drone footage? This site is pretty epic. Kind of kicking myself in the butt here. Didn't plan on picking up the camera. I didn't think there was a lot of cool permaculture, food forest, edible stuff here that you guys were going to be into. And as the project's evolving and the next phases are coming up, I'm like, all right, there's going to be a lot of epic stuff here. I need to pick up the camera. I've also been interviewed for some kind of mainstream stuff that once we kind of lock into contract, I can't film on a few sites, and this happens to be one of the ones we submitted on. So if that goes through, I'm kind of sliding this video in before any kind of deal gets made. That's kind of interesting and exciting. Stay tuned. I'll definitely let you guys know as soon as that happens. But right now we're in Brandon. We're on a 10-acre site, I believe. It might be 10 and 10 acres of property, 10 acres of wetland. You can kind of see the water area behind me. I don't believe all of that belongs to this property, but it's a very extensive property, and we've done about 1,000 foot of native buffer here. That native buffer consists mainly of native firebush, compacta, and standard, lots of beautyberry, and lots of native coffee, and lots of native salvias, and then some society garlic. So that's about the only edge species that's probably not native here on the site. Right now I'm standing at the entrance, and I wish I would have got you guys some before and afters. Like I said, I didn't think this would turn out as cool as it is, and now I'm at a point where, oh well, you can kind of just see here behind me, this was trashed. There was actually two dead magnolia trees here, and a lot of really poor shape like blue plumbago and standard variegated agricola, all just kind of destroyed by the ants. No mulch. The site probably had a lot of chemicals prior. Everything we've done here has been organic. We've brought in 200 yards of hardwood mulch, 15 yards of organic biochar compost mix. Like I said, thousands of natives, and we did a lot with fruit trees over there, but they were in rings. They weren't in like that food forest block type of setup. So these are the true pink Palda arca. So these are the pink tababuyas on either side of the entrance. And then as we step out of the gate, we've got some palm trees that were installed here. The client really liked the look of those kind of Sylvester Canary Island dates. Really wanted that kind of the moss or the ferns that you see that start to grow out of those as they get taller and older. So those are kind of framing the entrance as you go in here. We've got some islands to be filled up on either side still, and then lots of dwarf firebush and society garlic. And this is all still yet very young and small. Still hasn't been blown off today. The guys need to blow this off. We're hoping to be wrapped up on this one today. We did lots of irrigation here. This is a very shaded area. That's why the coffee fit very well. The firebush, the beautyberry, we're actually going to put down a cover crop of some ryegrass to get us through the winter time here. We had a little extra mulch and put it around a couple of these magnolias. And I'm actually interested to see if they start to look a little better with a little bit more soil life around them, holding some more moisture in place, because a lot of the magnolias here on the property had no mulch and they looked really, really ragged. But as you can see, really extensive buffer going all the way out to the entrance. Lots of live oaks here. I love the live oaks. And you can see we're kind of, this is the property line. This is about a 10-foot bed. Going all the way back to that stake you see in the back, kind of meeting up against this large facility here on the other side. And we did 2 zones of micro irrigation going all the way out to the main entrance. I think we've done about a total of 6 zones here. New zones, actually 7, and then retrofit 3, so 10 zones of irrigation. These had existing bubblers on them. This had overhead irrigation. We switched this. This is what we call a retrofit. Anytime you have a standard irrigation system with overhead that's mostly, meant for grass. Most of your plants, most of your bushes don't want to be sprayed on the leaves all the time. We do what we call a retrofit, and we come in and we take those heads. Let's say a zone has 8 to 10 heads. We'll plug off, 3/4 of those zones and use a couple as our feeders to feed our beds for that micro irrigation. And this is where you can see the buffer goes all the way down where the guys are with the tractor. They're actually just finishing up packing in some of the society garlic, and we have a combination of native red, native white, and native pink society garlic in this bed. Added a hose bib over here. Another big thing that we did here was when we did the irrigation, we put in a hunter timer with the wireless capability, so the homeowner is going to download that app. He's going to put the Wi-Fi card in there. He does have Wi-Fi all the way out here to his well, and he's going to be able to control the zones from his phone, but not just control the zones from his phone, but be able to turn on this overhead zone that we installed to protect the ultra tropicals. So we are in Brandon. We are east of 75. So even though, we're further south than I am, and we're definitely a little bit warmer, we're still on the east side of 75, which means frost, which means freeze possibilities. And that could be 1 night, that could be 5 nights, that could be 10 nights a year. It's usually not that many. So that overhead zone is going to give us that ability to insulate those plants with that water from that overhead irrigation to make it through those couple of nights. So hopefully it doesn't have to even get used at all. This is the mulch staging area. Also have our trailer back in there, anything that we didn't get planted. And we actually, this buffer was added on by the homeowner. This is a little bit of an extension of the native buffer because they want to have a long-term staging area here for mulch. So more firebush, coffee, beautyberry, because the long-term goal is to get a ton of mulch on this site, not have to bring in 200 yards every time we want to do a project. And you know, the next phase here is supposed to be a big section over there on the right, and that's supposed to be a little bit more food foresty, a little bit more multi-species, bananas in between, unlike what they had started over here and we had completed that I'll show you guys in a second. But this job, I would say, you know, start to finish probably took us every bit of 2.5 weeks, almost 3 weeks. This is a big project, and a lot of people don't realize just how much work goes into the prep, especially when we're ripping grass out away from existing fruit trees. We probably had 2 or 3 days of taking the grass away from 60 existing trees, putting rings around them, putting two nitrogen fixing sunshine mimosa, 2 nitrogen fixing perennial peanut, and mulch and amendments all back around those trees. It's actually a lot quicker for us to just come in and do the rings, plant the trees, than to come in on, you know, trees that don't have existing rings. And I'll talk to you about a little bit more when I go over there about why we do it the way we do it. So this is almost like a Japodicaba zone. You know, the client already had a red. I believe that was his red right there. He already had the Sabra, and he already had the Sabra. We brought this red. We brought this yellow. I want to say that we brought a Grimmel. He's hiding in here somewhere. A passion fruit up the tree. We planted the star fruit. Allspice went in the ground. A couple pineapples. A lot of perennial peanut. This is a south-facing bed, so we're getting a little bit of overhead protection. You know, frost type situation. Beautiful live oak. We put a Monstera on the live oak. And I'm sorry, it wasn't a Grimmel. It was actually a Scarlet. So reds, Sabra, and Scarlet throughout these beds. And Logan, you did an awesome job knocking out the design on this one. And for people that always watch my videos and want to know how you can get involved, well, I can tell you the first thing is, if you know landscape design, if you know Florida plants, if you have any kind of landscape design experience, especially when it comes to Florida or natives, that's a real plus. We are looking for designers, like always and actively. I think I'm up to 4 or 5 right now. And it's honestly my biggest bottleneck. If you're a client and you've been working with us, I apologize if we didn't return a design fast enough. Logan and a couple other members of the team, Amanda, we all got a little in over our head doing 2 consultations a week there for a while, and before you know it, we were backlogged. So that's why I've taken on these new designers. I'm trying not to overload them anymore. We're hoping to be caught up by the first of the year, but really I need to grow the team. We need more designers. We need more people that know Florida landscape, Florida plants. You know, we can work together. We can help you grow. So always looking for installers. I don't even need to talk about that, but landscape designers, architects, things like that. I'd really like to grow the whole design end of this. I turn down designs on a weekly basis for clients that don't want to have installation work done. I would love to be able to help everybody out. So with growing a design team, I can start taking on designs also that we aren't installing for. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you're interested in this, you know plants, you know design, you want to learn more about edibles, drop me an email. Email is always down in the description down below. So coming up on some of these fruit trees that we put in, you can see we use the Epic Edging. That's a recycled plastic product. It's a 4-inch tall, very, very heavy duty. If the lawnmower guy hits that, he'll literally bounce right off of it. Every one of these rings got almost a yard of mulch, and then you could see 2 mimosa, 2 peanut. We used azomite, we used biochar, we used wood ash, we used organic fertilizer on all these plants and trees here, and they had a serious ant problem. You can see here's one of our Ant Pro bait stations. Any of those that are in the full sun are just kind of like that are in the shade or more on the back side of the bush or a little bit hidden. Any of these that are actually out in the full sun have a pot on top of them. I see one over there against the wall. And a little pro tip, if you've been using these Ant Pro bait stations, they work awesome. I know the bait's expensive, but they work. Just know that when you have them out in full sun like that, they are designed to take the sun. They're going to work a little bit better if you put that little kind of 3-gallon pot on top of it, almost as like a house. Ken from Ant Pro recently told me that. I've been kind of passing along. I've been doing it on my own place. I definitely noticed when the traps are out in full sun, I don't get the activity like I would during the day if I have that pot on top of them when they're in there almost all day long. So just a little pro tip there on the ant stations. Lots of loquats here. I say lots, I think there's 3 or 4. A couple Barbados cherries. There's loquat, Cattleya guava, We recently just swapped out a citrus for sapodilla. And then over here on this side, you guys can see a whole pile of those rings. We've got 3 rows. Eventually we'll add 1 or 2 more rows. And like I said, more of kind of like a food forest thing over there on the far side. Here's our overhead irrigation zone. Went with those same wobblers we always tend to use. There's that rear buffer. Usually spacing those anywhere between 15 to 25 feet, depending on the pressure. I think we put 7 of them in here. And this is that overhead zone. As long as these mangoes are kept pruned and kept short, now the client has the ability on that cold night. Let's say he's in New York and visiting family for Christmas, and gets a notification on his phone from his weather app. Hey, it's going to be 29 degrees tonight. Starting at it's going to start freezing at 4:15 in the morning. He can turn on his irrigation at 4 a.m., run it until 8 a.m., 8:30 until it gets back above 32 degrees. Shut it off. And that water is going to insulate and protect those plants and buy you, a couple of nights before, you maybe lose a fruit set or lose a tree. So it's definitely a way to kind of protect yourself when you're pushing the edge with, subtropical species where 99.5% of the year, they're fine. But you get those couple of nights, that can set them back and mess them up. You can see that mango was tipped not too long ago. I see those fresh tips coming out on it, and I really pressed it to the client. Tip these trees. These are already getting a little bit tall to start branching. When young mangoes like this, you could tip them, 5 to 7 times a year, Dr. Campbell says. So it's really important that you stay on top of them. We do have a jackfruit here, jackfruit there, a couple more mangoes, and this is the last overhead zone. And most of this is citrus, cold hardy avocados, pomegranate, and a couple more loquats. And there is that one sapodilla that kind of got stuck in there at the end. That could probably use a little protection, but didn't make the cut. And I can show you guys a quick little rundown of the backyard. Some more fruit trees over here in rings. That's where I kind of started talking about those. All right, so not a ton going on here in the backyard. The clients have an amazing fish pond that was inside the pool cage when they got the house. Probably can't get that in the video, but you might kind of see it behind there. I don't want to go inside without talking to them. They had a big zone 1 garden that was originally in the consultation here, or in the bid here. Ended up kind of phasing that out to do some other phases this time. But we are talking about doing it here just in the beginning of spring. It's kind of overgrown here and behind me, and you'll see in the back we actually put a big cypress or cedar compost bin in that fenced in area, and we did ring 1 or 2 trees in there, which look awesome. And you can see we did end up also taking a huge hedge out here against the house, taking some more dead magnolias out here. We did plant these big palm trees, and we used muhly grass and vitex, a couple of sweet almond. There's a big caliandra there in the center, and there's still a lot of stuff back here that has to be planted. Some kuti trees, another tababuya, and we did some rip up back here for the client, but nothing was really planted in the back. That really large porterweed was already there. There is some red pentas in here, forgot about those, and Simpson stopper up along the back. But this is looking really good. These trees are native. These are our native royal palms. All palm trees, a lot of trees, when you're planting them and they're fresh and they've just been dug out of the ground, you really want to leave them tied up like this for about 10 to 14 days, depending on the tree. I think this Friday we're due to come and cut these open, let them loose, but for right now we want to retain as much moisture as we can. Once we do open them up, it's going to help them dry out. We don't want them to dry out. We want them to root. We want them to take place. We want them to become strong trees. So really cool project. Like I said, kicking myself in the butt for not picking up the camera earlier, trying to get you guys some little bit of the before and after action, especially with the grass around the trees. Client has said since we've installed the mulch, just in a couple of weeks since we started, that was the first thing we did here on this project, the trees already look better. Anytime you have a ton of grass up against the tree, they're sucking nutrients, they're sucking water, even though they're already, established mangoes, there's a competition there. So really they don't require a lot of water, even though the grass was taking a good bit of the water. So right now, now that we've got the grass removed, we've got the mulch in there, we got the permanent ground covers, we're probably not going to irrigate those beds at all, other than on the frost night, in order to establish the ground covers. So right now they're doing some daily hand water out there. That doesn't even have irrigation. And I want to say that like 80% of the site doesn't have irrigation. None of the grass is irrigated here. They don't use any chemicals. They don't use any fertilizers. The only place there was actually existing water in place were bubblers on the fruit trees, and there was bubblers on the mango zone that we converted to overhead. So pretty cool little project. Whoa, all right, did I mention I need a full-time film guy if you guys want to see every job we do? I don't know how I'm gonna do it. I hardly ever get around to picking up the camera like I want to, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Stay tuned, I'll try to do a follow-up here, and I'll definitely be filming the next phase. So if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed yet, please go ahead and do so. Make sure you pound that bell to stay notified. Most importantly, get out there and pound some dirt.